for the home cinephiles, for the living room athletes, for the sellers on the couch, and for the bedside analysts, for those who work outside their home in order to protect what's inside. I am dissolving social distancing. I am doing it today, as I did yesterday, as I'm going to do it tomorrow. I am all the telecom technology around you, and I thank you for bringing together vital experiences to those around us.
Bună ziua și bine ați venit! Sunt Adrian Săcelanu, jurnalist ZF și gazda dumneavoastră la o ediție specială a emisiunii ZF IT Generation, dedicată ediției din 2021 a DevTalks, cea mai mare expo-conferință virtuală dedicată dezvoltatorilor de software și industriei de IT din România. Vom discuta astăzi despre provocările de a organiza virtual cel mai mare eveniment dedicat dezvoltatorilor de software, dar și despre provocările din industrie și despre planurile unora dintre cele mai mari companii din domeniu care participă la eveniment. Pentru această discuție ni se alătură invitați din România și din Statele Unite, astfel că de acum înainte vom continua discuția în limba engleză. So please let me say also in English, welcome to a special edition of our show ZF IT Generation, dedicated to DevTalks Reimagined, the largest learning network for developers community. It is my pleasure to introduce our guests for this show, and they are Andreea Tudorache, Project Manager DevTalks. Hello, Andrea, and welcome.
Thank you for having us with you.
I'm also honored to introduce Jennifer Brandt Gargan, who is Global Vice President, Information Technology and Interim Bucharest Digital Technology Center Lead for the Estée Lauder companies. Hi, Jennifer, and welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here.
And last but not least, I also present Matei Nagos, who is Head of Delivery at Cognizant Sovision Romania. Hello, Matei, and welcome.
Thank you for having me as well. I'm really delighted to be here.
Thank you all again for joining us. Please allow me to start the conversation by asking Andrea, what's new at this edition of DevTalks? How did you reimagine your event virtually? What's new versus last year?
Thank you, Adrian. So, as you maybe already know, this is the second time when we're organizing DevTalks in an online format. So, yeah, we have a lot more surprises for the participants and a lot of novelty. Even if we cannot meet physical this time, we want to deliver a valuable experience for the participants. So what is new at this edition is represented by new stages that we have in the agenda. So we have welcomed IT leaders such as Dev Lead stage, engineers with the Engineer of the Future stage, a new 5G dimension, and telecom and automotive on the Connect stage. And because it's still so important for the tech community, we have also Women in Tech stage that we have organized for the first time. And on these stages, of course, we are all welcoming, as you already know, speakers, local and internationals, 100. And they are coming from Google, Dropbox, Bluetooth, Revolut, and many more. So they have a lot of interesting and new stuff to deliver to the audience. And also because it's an expo conference, as you already know, we have moved with the expo part in an area that is designed with 3 booths. And here the participants can visit the booths and have live conversations with the technical team and the company representatives. They have also quizzes, treasure hunts, and we encourage them to give it a try because they're very interactive. And apart from this, what is new at this edition is that we have gamified a little bit the process. So every action in the event will have a specific number, and they will enter on a leaderboard and in the end can win prizes. So it's more like a easy and fun way to interact here in the exhibition area. And in parallel, they can attend valuable content, with a lot of technical talks that we are preparing. Apart from this, I should mention also the tech areas that we have designed. And here I want to mention fintech area, gaming, artificial intelligence and AR, e-commerce. These all are parts where the participants can learn more about the subjects, can interact with experts and ask questions. So as you already know, we are gathering for a large force of tech community, and we are encouraging the participants to still enter the conference and find valuable resources, network, and make the most of what we still have, the online conferences.
I was wondering, can you disclose on how many attendees are you banking on this year?
Yes, so we have arrived at 8,000 participants. We unfortunately cannot meet physical, but they will be with us for these 3 days of the event. So yes, we're very glad to have them with us.
So I guess it's an increase if compared to the previous digital edition of DevTalks.
Yes, it's an increase, and it also comes after DevCon, which was in the autumn, and we saw that the participants are eager to find new resources and join us online. So yeah, we have increased from 6,000 participants last time, and now we have reached this new point, and we're glad to have them with us.
Thank you, Andrea, for sharing this. Now I'm turning to Jennifer and Matei, and I want to address them a common question that is, during the pandemic period filled with a lot of uncertainty in a lot of areas, the IT industry managed to stand out as a winning industry, if we can say so. How does your company look now after a year in this pandemic context, and what are your plans moving forward?
So I think we did really well. You know, the pandemic was hard on all of us. I think we communally as a globe can understand what we just lived through, but our company is coming out strong. And certainly from an IT perspective, it solidified the strategy that we have around almost doubling the number of internal employees for IT. So that's why we're setting up a digital center in Bucharest, and we're excited about it.
Indeed, kind of technology is maybe the big winner, if we can say there is something like that out of pandemic. But as technology is not just mainstream anymore, I think it's becoming dominant. Let's just look at the 5 largest companies on the stock exchange. They are all technology companies right now. And even with this whole uncertainty hovering, kind of the pandemic forced companies to accelerate their digital efforts in order kind of to reflect the customer expectations, to quickly create engagement and value in entirely digital ways. For us as a professional services company focused on digital engineering, pandemic meant, first of all, that kind of we could offset the blow that this period gave to some of the industries like travel, hospitality, automotive, etc., and naturally some of our clients in those areas, and basically have a very powerful catalyst to a very quick V-shaped recovery. Now, and I'm referring to the company and operations in Romania, we have a larger client base with a lot of new logos. We also diversified kind of the industries we operate in, looking at the industries that emerged quickly through the pandemic, like healthcare, life sciences, or banking. And also we diversified our geographical location as we've gone more into European business. If in the past we were more focused on the US market, in the last couple of years, we put a lot of energy kind of closer to home, and we'll continue to do so, just like we'll continue to hire aggressively.
I also wanted to ask you, how does the recruitment area look like for you in this pandemic context, and how did you adapt? Have you agreed already on the working style for 21-22, and how will it look like?
So, you know, we did adapt, but I think you'll all agree that when you're in IT, we were fairly comfortable working virtually. So, now that's just been exponentially increased. I will tell you from an Estee Lauder perspective, we put a lot of value on being very high touch and being very personable and getting to know you. And I think that's shifted some, but we've innovated around that and just pushed everything virtually. It hasn't slowed down our efforts at all. Yeah. So I think it's been really a good experience across the board.
I think we adapted very well, actually, because recently we broke our yearly hiring record in Romania. So basically in less than half the time, what it other times took us, we hired more people than in any other year before. And really, we've been building on the foundation kind of established last year when we were recognized by ZFE as the largest Romanian employer during the pandemic. And actually, maybe being remote helped us accelerate somehow the hiring process. Maybe it was easier to find time to meet with the candidates, to get them to talk to us, etc. But it was really very easy to adapt because we've been working in a distributed manner for a long time already, not just because of the 5 studios we have in the country, but overall the worldwide spread we have as a company. So kind of the processes, the ways of working were in place already. And also, as this maybe large or huge work from home experiment kind of forced us into what it also forced our clients and helped us as an organization to kind of demonstrate to them that despite being remote, our teams can perform just as well. And kind of the reservations they had around remote work were not that justified maybe. And as we remove these constraints of location, the 5 studios we have in Romania kind of started acting as regional command centers for us to be able to hire in the areas around them. And obviously that was helping. Now, regarding the working style, because you mentioned that as well, it's a future working style. It's not really possible yet. But for us, the key word is flexibility, because we want to give folks kind of the opportunity to create their own setups based on their daily needs, their routines, so to speak, and the experiences they want to have at the office. And we realize that not everyone is equally comfortable or even interested in a fully remote model. So kind of we want to allow people to work from home as much as they want, but also be able to book a seat in one of our studios in a space that they consider fit for the type of activity that they might be planning, a huddle space, PI planning, fun room, maybe just the cafeteria for a larger meetup, and so on. And actually, we have a studio experience department, because I mentioned the keyword here, experience, in charge with this, and they were kind of mandated to rethink through the lens of experience all our talent-oriented processes. And what came out is basically a hybrid working model, as I mentioned, that we call studio experience, a hybrid model that also pushed us to redesign the studios to make them more collaborative, more open, so kind of we can cover more of these experiences. It's not just a place where you go on, you put your headset on and code. It's a space that kind of facilitates the engagements that we believe matter. And I'll stop here because surely in the virtual booth, folks will be able to find out more.
If I can jump back in, I didn't answer that piece of the question. And we too have found, like everyone, that a hybrid model is the way to go. And adding on to everything that you just said and making a very thoughtful workspace coming back, especially in Bucharest, where we're setting up a new center, we're being very thoughtful around, yes, you can book space to come back, but really, why do we need you to come back? And is it important on that day? And how can we collaborate as a team at that moment, rather than having, 1, 2, 5 people on any given day? Why? Who should come back as a team? Does that make sense? So we're being really thoughtful about that and also being really flexible. So I think it's going to be a good combination once we get back to the office.
Thank you very much. I guess everyone is thinking now how to design these new ways of hybrid working. Now let's move to DevTalks. I saw that this year you decided to support the area of emerging technologies, such as artificial intelligence, augmented reality, machine learning, and more. What do you think are the next steps for these areas, and what impact do you think they will have?
Yeah, so not next steps in the industry, but speaking specifically to cosmetics, I encourage, if you happen to be in Bucharest, go to the Offi Mall, hit the Mac store, and take a look at some of our tech we have in store. That's the bare minimum. Everything is expanding on AI and AR. And if you think about it, they're complex models. We are dealing with skincare and cosmetics. We're dealing with your face. How do we assess that? And not only is it virtual try on and what do things look like, that's kind of the easier part. But now we're assessing, what are concerns that you have? What are your undertones? What are things that are beneath the surface? How do we do that? So we have very complex models, like I said, and projects and innovations that we're working on. And I think it's only up from here as the entire industry has shifted from outside of retail. Obviously, sometimes people still want to go in store, but most often people want to shop from home. They want the answers from home. They want to be met at home. How do we do all of that using AI and AR? It's incredibly complex when dealing, especially with faces and things that are so personal to people.
Personally, I'm very excited about the potential impact of all these technologies can have, because maybe in the last decade, digital has kind of transitioned from being something out of the ordinary to becoming downright absolutely normal. We see it every day. And I think that the kind of revolutions that AR, ML, AR, etc. can generate are just around the corner in one step, but also I believe they can have an even bigger impact that the innovations on digital had. For instance, right now, if in China, maybe using the plastic credit card is already a thing of the past, or you can come across a smart booth that's powered by AI and can give you a diagnosis, then sending you to a vending machine that will kind of give you the medicine that you've been prescribed. Or in South Korea last year, I saw there was a robot dog patrolling the streets to see if people are respecting the social distancing norms. I think these are just a glimpse of what's coming, not to mention that we have now the kind of technology, the computing power to decipher how humans behave, to predict our choices in ways that maybe they were never possible before this. And for that, you need data, a lot of data. And of course, realistically, maybe taking a step back from the not so distant future, today we're at the point where we've started accepting and acknowledging that the real power of analytics and big data, once we turn that into that information into intelligence, will kind of accelerate the pace of development. And companies like maybe one large automotive client, we have started programs with very clear goals around these lines of saying that they want to become a data-led company. And with this movement kind of towards widespread data modernization, I think there will be kind of a more generalized understanding that AI is not magic. It's learned and data kind of teaches it. So organizations like Jennifer was saying are going to achieve surprising new breakthroughs in all industries as they look very seriously at the data and identify kind of new applications and streamline decision making and personalization maybe.
Thank you so much. Now let's spend some more time talking about Cognizant's vision. I saw that you decided to be the main partner of DevTalks. That is, as I said, one of the most important technology events in Romania. Why have you decided to join DevTalks, and what are you preparing at this edition for the participants?
So technology and engineering are part of our DNA as a company. I think we've been living at the cutting edge, leading edge, if you will, of technology for the past 23 years since our founding. And the way we're organized as a company, the community model, as we call it, was kind of conceived in order to enable engineers to connect around their shared passions, to share the knowledge, to help them learn and evolve. And basically, as an engineer, you're connected to a massive organization with similar skills and interests to your own. We call that your community. And these communities are in place kind of to help us innovate and to nurture this culture for us. So I think in the end, it's easy. It comes naturally for us to be drawn to such a technology event and kind of to move beyond the internal knowledge sharing and be able to support and be there with the local and global technical communities. And in terms of what we have in store, well, speaking of communities, Bogdan Pupeza, our head of communities, will be opening the day tomorrow on the main stage. Also on the main stage, we'll have one of our delivery directors talking about emerging technologies in fintech products. And on the web stage, we'll have one of our colleagues from the full stack web community to talk about kind of the best ways to reuse code in Vue.js. While, as I already mentioned, that at any given time at the virtual booth, you can find out more about us and about the studio experience model.
Now let's move on again to Jennifer, who's representing the Estée Lauder companies, a leader in the beauty tech industry, and also one of the newest entries on the Romanian tech market. I saw that you decided to participate this year at DevTalks as AI and AR tech area partner. What is the expertise you offer in this area, and what are the development plans you have in this direction?
Yeah, so I gave a little bit of that away in my last answer, but from a development perspective, we're looking at what's next. What's the 2.0, 3.0 version of some of the tech that you see out there? And if you're unfamiliar with it, you can go in store, you can go online. We've spent a great deal of the last several years understanding what consumers want around skincare, around cosmetics, around making choices, around bringing those choices into the space where she is. And what's next? Given the pandemic and we went, 100% virtual, we pivoted very quickly and started to expand on those. But now we're looking for teams to come in with a fresh set of eyes in this community to say, that's great, but here's what I know about facial scanning, and here's what I know about the consumers, and here's what we can do to take it to the next level. There's no shortage of wants and desires out there. If you look, do a little Google search on the top AI initiatives for 2021, every single list, you're going to see shopping and retail. You're going to see things like wearables. You're going to see, a number of initiatives that when you think about the cosmetic and skincare industries, they play into all of those. But we don't want to do what everybody else is doing. And I can't talk to you about, some things we have in the hopper right now and some patents pending, but we're doing some things that are incredibly innovative in the space from a base technology standpoint that would excite this community, and taking it to a consumer group that some will understand it and some won't, and some will just be excited to know, get the benefits of it at home. So there's a ton that's happening, and it's incredibly complex and exciting.
Thank you for sharing this, Jennifer. For the end of our discussion, I move on again to Andrea, and I'd like to ask you, please share with us some of the highlights for these days.
Mainly, I will encourage the participants to visit these new stages. We have developed them because there is a need in the market. Also, the booths and the expo area is a very valuable place because it's open to networking. Don't forget that you can interact with the companies, with big tech companies that are still growing and are bringing very cool, let me say, projects on the plate. And this is a very important resource, the knowledge and the power of networking. So yeah, we are still waiting for you to visit the event.
Andrea, Jennifer, Matei, thank you all very much for joining us today at our special edition of our show, ZFIT Generation, dedicated to DevTalks.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you again for joining us for this special edition of our show, ZFIT Generation, who was dedicated to DevTalks Reimagined. Thank you very much for joining us again. Vă mulțumim pentru că ne-ați urmărit. La revedere!